Hi, this is Bethany with Morgan James Publishing, and today I'm speaking with our author, Andrew Wyatt. Andrew also goes by Andy. Hi, Andy. How are you today?
I'm well, Bethany. Thank you very much. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. So, Andy is the author of Pro Leadership, Establishing Credibility, Building Your Following, and Leading with Impact. Wow, what a title and what a message. Andy, thank you so much for spending some time with me today to talk about your background and why you wrote this book. I know we're going to get into some really great questions here in a moment, but first I wanted to just kind of ask, I know we have you as Andrew Wyatt on the book, but you also go by Andy. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, well, my given name is Andrew Wyatt, and all my friends call me Andy. My sisters, my sisters call me Andrew. My oldest friend in life calls me Andrew, and my mom, when she's upset with me, calls me Andrew. So everybody else calls me Andrew. So, but I love the name Andrew, and we decided that that would be a better author name.
Amazing. Well, could you give me a little bit of a background as far as who you are and what brought you to the point of choosing to write a book on leadership?
Great. Thanks for asking. That's one of my favorite questions because I love the answer. I am a serial entrepreneur. I founded a company and built it for 25 years. And when the time came for me to step away from it 4 years ago, as you can imagine, we'd grown an asset management firm from $12.50 to a little over $16 billion over 25 years, and had quite an experience. Worked with lots of great people, lots of great leaders. And my role as the founder of the firm really turned in the last 15 years from making investment decisions to developing leaders. And so when I came to the end of my time at that firm, when I came to the end of my responsibilities there, I was actually visiting with my therapist, of all people, because when you're a senior leader, there are some things you can't talk about with even your leadership team. So here I am, picture me in the office of a woman who is about 15 or 20 years my senior, and she asked me a question, and I said to her, well, that's number 17. She said, what are you talking about? Well, I had a yellow legal pad in my briefcase that I'd been carrying with me either in the center drawer of my desk or in my briefcase for 25 years. And every time I learned a lesson, I took out that legal pad and wrote it down. Now, in order to be on that pad, I had to be able to write the lesson down in one sentence of 10 or 12 words or less, because I figured that if I couldn't do that, I hadn't learned the lesson. So she asked me a question and I said, that's number 17. She said, what are you talking about? I showed her the legal pad and she said, this is marvelous. She said, I think it would be good for you to write a book, and each one of these lessons is a chapter. Well, I just laughed out loud. I said, I can't do that. I'm not a writer. And I headed back to my office and got a call from a close friend of mine. And he said, I'm wrestling with a business situation. Could I come by and run it by you? And I said, certainly. He came to my office. This was a couple hours after it was suggested that I write a book. And he told me his situation. And I said, well, that's number 27. And he said, what are you talking about? And I showed him the list. He said, can I have that list? I said, no. And he said, well, then you're going to need to write a book so that we can all benefit from your list. So 2 people in one day suggested I do it. And I thought, well, why not? I'll try it. And so I went and wrote a manuscript, and that was what started this whole process off.
Wow, well, that's some double confirmation all in one day. And I love that that story about carrying around that legal pad and writing down those lessons. I think that's such a fantastic thing that you did, and I know we're so grateful that you did, and I know so many of your readers will be as well. And I love the fact that you talk about as a business leader, that therapy was important to you in your journey as a business professional. I think that's something that people don't talk about enough. So I love that not only was that something that you put into practice, but also your therapist pointed out that your list could be such a great book. So that's just such a great story from start to finish. So I know in your book, you focus a lot on principles of leadership. Could you talk a little bit about why you put so much focus there?
Thanks for that question too. My entire philosophy of leadership development is based on principles as opposed to tactics, because tactics are temporary, but principles are permanent. And so if we focus on understanding leadership principles, they will never fail us. But if we focus on tactics, there are times when a tactic might work today and it's not going to work tomorrow. So that's why I focus on principles, and I encourage others to do it too.
That makes so much sense. So well said. So could you talk about who would benefit most from reading this book? Did you have a reader in mind as you were going about writing it? And could you talk a little bit about, who really is going to get the most from what you share in your book?
Well, my main vocation, my passion is to inspire and equip leaders who desire to develop the leader within to become all they were created to be. And I exercise that in my coaching practice, one-on-one coaching. So when I wrote the book, I had in mind my coaching clients who are senior leaders, entrepreneurs, CEOs. But really, I think the book is applicable to any level of leader, whether you're an aspiring leader, whether you're a developing leader, or whether you're a well-seasoned leader. And so I really think anybody could benefit from it. And one of the things that I believe so strongly in is that we are all leaders, because one of the chapters in my book is first lead yourself. We all have to lead ourselves. So in that way of thinking, we're all leaders, so everyone can benefit.
Could you tell us a little bit more about what's in that first chapter and just the concept of leading yourself?
Well, the book is really divided into 3 sections. And I see leadership as, if you're starting at ground zero, I see it as a step process. The first step is to establish your credibility. And then once you've done that, the second step is to build your following. And then after that, the third step is to lead with impact. And once you have accomplished those initial steps, then it becomes a cyclical process. And I would say we're never done with it. And so we continually go back to establishing credibility, building your following, and leading with impact. And so when I look at establishing credibility, that is really the stage that I call excavation before elevation. That's the time where we are alone and we are looking ourselves in the mirror, and we are understanding who we are, what makes us tick, how we were made, and what our natural strengths and natural weaknesses are. And so that's the establishing credibility. You really need to get your arms around. You need to be able to answer the question, who am I? And then I love Simon Sinek's book, What's Your Why? because we've got to be able to answer, who am I? And then what's my why? And there's a little bit of lead up before that. It's entrepreneurial DNA and the natural foundation of leadership. But those first four chapters are really personal. And I would say those are the chapters that are applicable to anyone, because anyone today should be able to answer those questions in their life. No matter what you do, your life will be better if you answer those questions for yourself. Mm. And people have said to me, well, isn't it selfish to go about it like that? And I'm like, absolutely not. Because if you are going to add value to other people's lives, you can't be wondering about what your life is about, what your why is, and what makes you tick. You need to answer those questions so then you can give to others. I think going and doing that kind of, I don't know if we should call it soul searching, but just getting to know yourself, I think it's one of the most generous things you can do for others.
Mm. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And that's, so well said. And I love so much about this book, the fact that you do focus on the principles and it comes from some really, real life experience. These are lessons and leadership skills that you learned from real life experience, building a real life company that was very successful, and now you go and you share these principles, these lessons with other people who, like you said, might be at any stage of that leadership process, whether aspiring or working on growing their leadership career, or there's somebody that is in a spot of regular leadership. So thank you so much for going through the process of taking those lessons and writing a manuscript and everything that goes into publishing a book, to share those lessons with others. And I feel like I could ask you a million questions about some of the information that you share in your book. But if people want to learn more about you or about your book or get connected with you online, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, the fastest way would be to go to my website, which is andrewwyattleadership.com, or you can find me on, just search for me, Andrew Wyatt and Andrew Wyatt Leadership on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, but easiest way, just go to my website, andrewwyattleadership.com, contact me and shoot me an email, and I'll respond to you. I'd be happy to.
Awesome. Well, Andy, thank you so much for spending some time with me today to talk about your new book. We're so proud of you, proud of your message, and excited about this book being available to readers everywhere. So thanks so much and congratulations.
Thank you, Bethany. I appreciate your time as well. Thank you.
Sure thing.